at first, when he comes out of the water and everything, you're like, oh, okay, Nora Roberts, chill your boots. I know you haven't had intercourse for like 2 decades, but it'll be okay. But then later on, which will...
Jensen, I'm sorry. Hi, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, Unresolved Textual Tension. Today, I am with one of my dazzling co-hosts, Katie. Ooh, and we're in the same space.
Maria, what are we talking about today?
We read a book.
What's it called, Maria?
It's called A Fate Inked in Blood. I think, yes, by Danielle L. Jensen. Mm-hmm. I want to say Jameson. Jensen. We just looked it up 2 seconds ago. And Katie and I, we did it by ourselves. Will didn't even read the book. He gave us a couple of options for books to read, and we ended up picking this one. We both did it because it was the shortest one that we were presented.
Well, also, I liked the front cover art.
The front cover art is gorgeous.
It's definitely the hook that draws you in.
And the book itself is nowhere near as good as the front cover
But okay,
art.
so before we begin, there's I have like 2 things. My mission in this with Maria is
Katie has mission statements.
Yes, I have 2 mission statements. Maybe 3. So one of them is I would like to discuss, and we won't get into a lot of details. Maybe if we go too long, we won't do it. But I'd like to discuss, in short, what I would have done, at least towards the beginning. I wanted to think more about it, but I didn't give myself enough time. I was going to write it out and everything because I had so many ideas.
Listen, spitballing in the moment is fine.
So there's that. It's because I feel like there's a very obvious thing I felt like she missed out on. Anyway. And then the second thing is, I know this isn't real.
It's not.
But my little pretend, what is it called?
Headcanon?
Headcanon. No,
conspiracy?
Yeah, my conspiracy theory is that Yaros actually is using this as a pen name, and this is Yaros, because there is a weirdly large amount of plot beats that match and character archetypes that don't seemingly match at first, but later on do. And it's just like so silly. And I know that's just like the formula for like romantasy and everything, but man, it really like hits those. And then my final one is that I think the author at a very specific point in the book just gave up.
This book is bizarre because at one point I'm reading it and Katie messages me a GIF of someone throwing up violently. And I was like, really? Like, normally I'm the one having this reaction. And, like, listen, I don't think this is a good book, but I didn't think it was the worst. Like, you had a better reaction to Fourth Wing. Like, what are we doing here?
That's because you didn't get far enough into it.
And she was like, you're not, I told her where I was, and she was like, oh, you're nowhere near. It's going to go downhill very quickly. And she was correct. And it's weird because there's 3 distinct stages of this book. And stage 1 is okay.
It's pretty solid. There's a few things where when I was reading it or when I was listening to it, I was like, that's a faux pas.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's one large, throughout all the sections of the book.
I'm so curious to hear your opinion on the characters.
Yeah. There's one large issue across the entirety of the book, but that gets progressively worse. And just like the level of like thought that goes into what the character conflicts are takes a nosedive at the end. But there's like the beginning's okay, the middle's like okay. It like did we stop editing a little bit? Yeah,
well there's less
refinement
in it,
and I use that word generously.
And then the ending is just straight up I feel like so there's like so many different thoughts that go through my mind. Part of me feels like she hates the character. Like, it genuinely felt like she was punishing the character unnecessarily. And the reason I say that isn't just that it was like a martyr situation, but it was also all the other characters around her were one of 2 people, 2 extremes. Either they were like...
so devoted.
Like, they were just like, oh my God, no, why would you think that you owe these people anything when they've been disgusting to you? And they've been like... And then that's the other set of people. The people who are so abusive towards her and disgusting and uncaring that it's a caricature.
This book falls into the
comfort, but it's not.
No, but not even that. It's the Sarah J. Maas start of because in ACOTAR, one of the complaints I had was her family was just so bad, and that she was like, as the youngest child, bared all the burden of her family, and it was all like this like thing, and her
Jensen does the same thing,
and her family, like, there's no nuanced characters except for one character, Elvira. She's the only nuanced character. She's the only one where you're like, I feel for you. I don't think
she's the only normal human being. Yeah, that's not an extreme.
And you get, like, she has things that she's selfish about, but you're like, yo, I kind of get it. And like other stuff. And then the rest of them.
But she's likable too because she's a very loyal person.
She's so loyal, and like her care for her people makes her just great. And besides her and I guess the main character, because it's the main character, everyone else is just very one note and a bit caricaturish. Oh, gosh. And especially like the family dynamics, and we'll get into it in detail.
There's so many things about this book that, like, I mean, again, I'm being critical.
That's our job.
We are criticizing it. But that being said, I think I'm a little fired up about it because there are good things to it. And I'm not angry at the author, obviously. I'm just angry that the plot took these turns and this happened to the characters, because I felt like I saw a lot of potential, like Maria mentioned at the beginning, and I just like was so disappointed because I was kind of hungry for the book. I wanted to listen to it at the beginning. I liked the narrator.
Oh my god, this narrator is fantastic.
Oh god, she was so good. And so I was in it, and I don't think we've had a narrator that's like Scandinavian sounding.
So the only one, I don't think we've had a Scandinavian one, but the rightness of this narrator makes me, it has a similar vibe as the Naomi Novik Spinning Silver narrator, who just is slightly accented. It's not a super strong accent, but it feels right for the story. Like, this narrator deserved a better book. Like, she was so good.
So good. And whoever picked her.
And she brought such depth to the main character that I don't think...
Her voice actually made the character a character.
Yes, it did. It gave her life. It's like where, you know, if someone writes a mess script, but you have a good actor in the role, and it really brings life and color to the character. And so I wish she had been given a better book. I have no interest. There's a sequel. I have no interest. But really quick, before we get too far, let's do the basic premise. This is a romantasy. Heavy romantasy set in a
Viking-esque place that's not our real world.
And it's a fantasy Norway with like the
magic,
the pantheon of gods, where the Norse gods,
and just like wasn't there? Oh yeah. The story you and Will did the review on, but I couldn't do with the warrior woman, and then the person who and then there were gods that she killed. God killer?
Oh, God killer. Yeah.
So that's like God killer though. A little bit. It reminded me of the intro, the part where there's like you can be blessed by gods type of thing.
Yes. And so in this story, the basic premise is that gods can choose on the night of conception to give a drop of their blood to a babe that was, you know, like, you either invite the god into your bed, or apparently it can happen afterwards. But
I think it's more symbolistic.
Yeah, they can give a drop of their blood to a baby that can then use their powers and invoke it. And the story is basically what happens if you have one of these children, but who also there has been a prophecy, a vision of the future about them that makes it so they can't just live their own life, but they are being drawn into the politicking of other people because of the vision. And that is our main character.
So Harry
Freya.
Potter.
Yeah. It's basically like that. It's our main character, Freya. There was a prophecy that on the night of a blood moon, a child of Leen would be born as a shield maiden, and whoever controlled her fate would unite all of Scotland under her.
Yeah.
And so the what's the name?
Also, why is it whoever controls her fate. What a shitty...
You want to know why? It's because the author wanted it to be like...
a romance.
Well, no, not just a romance, because what it's going to be is she controls her fate.
I didn't think about that, actually.
Well, this author has done that multiple times where she's needed something to be vague enough that you can read it certain ways. So the wording, and there's 2 places she does this, and this is the first one. And basically, what are the rulers of the different... they're thrall, not the thrall.
No,
the thralls are like
the
slaves.
It's the fuck. This is gonna annoy me.
Oh my god!
No, wait a second. We've got this.
Yeah, we do.
It's not a banner lord.
No, it's the equivalent of
the jarl.
Jarl, yeah,
the jarl.
The jarl of her territory that she was in heard this prophecy and was like, I shall marry the shield maiden. And please note, he's a full-ass adult when he hears about the birth of this child. And he's like, I shall marry this baby.
Also, why marry? Just have it as your daughter.
I mean, that's what I would have done.
I mean... Also, when she came, it doesn't make any sense for him to marry her.
It does. It's because...
yes, I know why.
Anyway, he decides I'm going to marry her and I shall use her to become king of Scotland. And our main character, Freya's father, was one of his warriors and heard this and was like, oh no, that's my daughter. I'm not going to let that happen. And so he was like, Freya, hide your gift from the world. Nobody can ever knowing. She doesn't even know about this heckin' prophecy that has her at the center. And so she's like, no. And that's the story is eventually the premise is her powers come out and
she gets revealed, and then her romantic partner comes about, flirt, but in weird position because this king guy, the jarl, is like, nah, my woman, because I want to control her fate and unite Scotland.
Yeah, and basically the story is what happens to her once this comes out and how she is used by people politically and how what she wanted at the start wasn't what she wanted by the end.
So I really like the romance story, whether it's like a normal in our world or fantasy, where political marriage but falls in love with bodyguard. I love that. I fucking love that shit.
You know what I like? I like political marriage where they get married
they learn to love each other.
And they learn to love each other.
Yes.
I really like being in a position.
Well, that's another one. That's different though.
It's such a, because it's just, and
it's satisfying to see that emotional depth in 2 characters.
Yes, and also because it's going to take time, especially if it's a political marriage where y'all don't like each other. That's the slow burn I like. If you fall in love with the bodyguard, your dick and or...
Okay, yes, but I mean like the long run.
Yeah.
Like kind of like a Princess Diaries. Remember the bodyguard was in love with the queen?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, though.
I love that, too.
I'm not talking about young person bodyguard that. It's because that's like, you just find him hot.
Yeah, and the thing is, in this story, like, it's definitely, like, romantasy. And so I guess let's summarize our basic issues, and then we'll go into the plot. Like I said, the book has distinct arcs of goodness. I find, for the most part, like I mentioned, the characters are very one-note. The only character who kind of goes on a journey, like it has an arc, is the main character. And then but necessary.
Also not really. Like, that doesn't actually happen successfully.
And then the Jarl's wife, like an original first wife, has a bit of a...
Who he's really in love with. And like they have a pretty solid relationship.
Yeah, no, I thought so much more was going to be done with...
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to be more humanized. And
I did too.
This
because when he agrees not to... Because he doesn't want to have sex with her.
Yeah, like... So, we'll get into it when we go over the plot, but there are moments in the beginning, in the first third,
where you're like...
And characters have... Like, you're like, oh, this isn't a one-note character. This character has multiple sides to them. And unfortunately, as the story goes on, and it doesn't feel like this is a character who had depth and through the course of actions fell from depth, because it's so sudden that suddenly it's just... one note, and we don't get as much of the depth. And this is the big thing. This is one of my biggest issues with the entire book. The character, it's in first person, and the character, a scene will happen, and then she'll just think about it for 900 fucking years.
This book, as Maria said earlier to me on the phone, not a lot happens in this book. Even though a lot does happen, it doesn't happen in a way that's satisfying anyway. And when I say not a lot happens, I mean... Yeah, about 75% of the book is all internal machinations.
Yeah, it's literally her navel-gazing, thinking. Literally, there's scenes where, like, the scene happens, and then she's like, I can't believe he just said, and then like
what could that mean?
Rephrases it.
It reminds me a lot of what I do. So that's why I was like, is the author like, were they like abused? Yeah, but were they abused as a child / any of this like trauma stuff? Because they're like, but then it's my fault it's like no matter what path she took for the most inane things in the book. It didn't happen initially. And I want to, when we get to the first part of the book, I have something really like, there's something I've really liked about the introductory scene. Mm-hmm. And, she, what was I saying?
Her navel gazing.
Yes. The internal thoughts. Oh yeah, that's right.
Everything she does, she like,
constantly martyrs herself. Yeah. She constantly I don't know why I want to say that. Martyrs herself, and it's like the dumbest choices that come before her, most inane daily choices. She's like, oh, but if I do this, then it comes back and it's my fault. And it's like, oh, if lightning randomly comes from the sky and kills a dog, it's her fault. That's how she sees the world.
And she like, someone will say something and she'll be like, but did they mean it this way or did they mean it that? And it really... And
it's neurotic.
Yeah, and it makes sense that it feels familiar to you because as someone who's known Katie for a very long time, I know that sometimes the overthinks.
And unfortunately, it does have a selfish quality to it because you're thinking about yourself in a way. Not selfish as in, oh, you're so selfish, self-centered, which you are, but it's not like in a like envious or nasty or jealous way. It's like, it just, you can't see beyond the... Yeah, exactly.
And I wish more was done with that, like as a...
I thought it was, because it was so on the nose at the beginning that that's what was happening, and I was like, oh, so she's going to address this in a character, that's kind of cool, and then I was like, oh, first person, because this book is in first person, of course, I was thinking, oh, she's going to take advantage of the first person narrative and show us the character... Nope.
Nothing really happened in her childhood to validate that level of...
oh, God, that we'll get to that, I guess.
That level of, like, just intense... self-reflection and needing to monitor every single little thing she did. I mean, even with her marriage, it like, and yeah.
You could say it came from her marriage. You could say it came from her hiding, but it's not actually even formulated in a way that says, oh, yes, that's cause, that's effect.
Yes. And you could extrapolate that, but
that's a hard extrapolation.
And also, based on what we're given in the text, it still doesn't feel...
It does. Like, no, she doesn't actually... I don't think she actually thought of it that way. And if she did, she completely forgot to include it.
And we'll talk about ways, because as we go through, we'll talk about ways to make it better, but you could have lost a third of this book if you would have just taken out some of the navel gazing. It would have ended up tighter. You would have had a bit more suspense. We don't need a scene to happen and then for the character to regurgitate the scene to us as she thinks through it. It is too much. And again, if she would have been doing it to say something about this character's thought process and the way she interacts with the world, and like that was a theme being explored, absolutely, but it just felt like the author not using first person adequately, like just falling into the pitfalls of first person done badly, which is a ton of unnecessary navel gazing.
I would say also out of all the books we've read, I unfortunately have to say, and I'm so sorry, Danielle, Jensen, I apologize. And, I'm not judging you if you ever happen to come across this. However, that being said, I really feel like you gave up. Like, there's an obvious difference in the beginning, middle, and end. It's just, you can see it peter off. And at one point, the character waffles at the end where you like completely gives up. The character waffles back and forth so hard. You can like, it's no longer a story. It's somebody's draft.
And also this character has like this moment of realization before she should. Like something happens and she starts like being like, oh my God, I'm putting together the pieces now. And I'm like, why? What on earth made you have this like, listen, and we'll get there. But anyway, let's do the plot recap. Do you have any overall other thoughts?
No, I think I explained myself.
Okay. So, as I mentioned, this book starts with our main character, Freya. We don't know that she's been given the gift of Lean or anything.
And we don't know who Lean is. She's a minor goddess, apparently. Yeah. And that's why everybody's like, ooh, who cares?
And so we don't know. We open and she's married to this guy named Vrogi. And he is a...
abusive piece of shit Pisces.
He has been touched by a god who is the god of the ocean. I forgot what his name is.
The ocean one.
Yeah, the ocean one. And he can summon fish, and so their village never goes hungry. Like,
which is a really...
It's fantastic.
That's great!
And here's the thing. Her relationship with Froggy is not good. It was not a marriage for love. Her family was like, oh, marry him. He's
and
very
she's
wealthy.
very beautiful.
And she's beautiful, and they were like, it'll be good for the family. You'll be in a good position. And unfortunately, what this author did that made it really, like, dumb and on the nose is instead of playing it as an unhappy marriage, but not two bad people or, like, one bad person. Because
Froggy is a mustache-twirling villain.
He's just a shithead. He's, like, selfish. He literally...
He's rapey.
He's rapey. He can grapey.
He's grapey. That's still too much. I vape my stick, E.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't like that motion.
Yeah.
He vapes.
He vapes. With his powers, he once brought a whale onto the beach, and then the whale got itself back into the ocean, and then he brought it back onto the beach, and then it got back into the ocean, and then it got it back onto the beach, and like everybody was just so disgusted, they weren't even happy, and it was just such a waste of meat. And he does that where he'll summon too many fish, and he doesn't care, and so he's just like
it's for show, and it's to be like, yeah, look at my power, but it doesn't. And that makes sense because there are endless fish in the ocean.
Yeah.
So like that kind of all plays into it, but so. We start on a scene where Freya is gutting a fish, and Vrogi, yeah, doesn't like and he may or may not actually be judging her, but regardless, he's so mustache twirling, it just all feels like gimmicky, but he doesn't like the way she's doing it, and it's kind of like a control thing, an authoritative thing, and there's this back and forth, but there are a couple of things that happen all at once.
I just remembered something.
What?
The lemon juice. The fact that this woman didn't have constant yeast infections.
Don't even get me started. When I heard that, I was like, what? She just fucked up her vagina so much.
She should have constant yeast infections. She should
that would
smell
mess
like
up.
Fish all the time. Continue. Make your point. I just remembered it, and I just...
Yes, I know. For those of you who've read the book, you understand what Maria's saying. If not, we will get to it. Anyway, so there are a couple of things that are... There's actually... I feel like this is a very competent and incompetent, a very closely, fully competent moment as a writer, is this intro scene, because we're given that... Through their dialogue and through Freya's internal thoughts... We get that, and I think it's used really well, Freya's thinking a lot about her actions in this moment because it's very political in nature, because it's an arranged marriage. If she does something wrong and incurs his wrath in a way that would affect others, she has to be careful of that, even though she doesn't actually care too much what he does to her, because she's already under his thumb. So, like, it already sucks ass. And so she's thinking all of this as she's doing it, and there's this battle struggle between them of, like, who's... Like, you can tell she's a little bit more, it's really nice. It is really nice. It is a nice moment of defining their relationship. However, she leans in so hard into Vrogi being, like, this horrible vapor that it loses its value.
Yeah. I think what would have worked better, because like their marital bed is a just like
he twirls her over, bends her over, and wha-bam, it's done.
There you go. And then once he's done, he's off. So it's like, and
I don't even know why he wants a kid.
Well, because in that society, you need like.
But why would he? Notice how I feel like him as a character wouldn't want one.
I don't know, but it was.
He acts like a bachelor. He later, spoiler right now, gets rid of his wife. You know, like, he just wanted to fuck up people's lives. So why would he want a child?
I got the idea that he was getting rid of Freya because he wanted children. It's
that is why.
It is your
That's
legacy.
True.
So, and just for the time period, it made sense.
I get all of that. It just didn't really make sense to me.
Well, yes, because she created a weird character for the world.
I know.
Anyway, and
so what happens when they finish? Okay.
Yeah, so they have their fight, and one of the things you learn during this is that to avoid having, because he's like, you still haven't given me a son. I've had you. It's been a year, and there's been no children. And
it's such an old. That is such an old coat to wear.
It is. It's such an old coat. And she's like, little does he know, I've been using lemon juice to spoil his sperm. And
is that a thing?
Number one.
Did women do that?
Number one, are they getting the lemons imported?
Okay.
Lemons?
Hold on a
second. Do lemons even grow?
Hold on a second.
We need to check. I don't know this because it's a citrus fruit.
They're in Norway. They're in Norway. Where did she get lemons from?
Let's check. Do lemon?
I mean, wait. The Vikings traded a lot, though.
Yeah, but they're in a tiny fishing village.
That is true. Did Vikings have lemons?
They weren't cultivated
until AD 700.
Okay. All right. We'll let it stand.
Also, that's CE. You fucking heathen. These answers are very back and forth, and it mostly is talking about pickling afterwards, and I really just don't get it. We're not widely cultivated, nor does it seem the Roman used lemons in cooking. So I'm pretty, please tell us.
Yeah, let us know if you know more. But anyway, we'll pretend lemons do grow.
Okay, yes.
We'll
suspend the disbelief.
We'll suspend the disbelief, and perhaps, or it was traded. They traded with, I don't know, the Greeks, and got some lemons. And she would put it inside her to keep a baby from taking root. But the problem is
that woman's
vaginas have
a very delicate pH.
Like the littlest thing, and you got a yeasty.
That's why, ladies, if you're currently using soap if you are currently using soap on your hoo-ha, you should not be.
Yeah.
Warm water and a washcloth is fine.
It's fine. That's welcome to hygiene tips from Katie and Maria. Anyway, she would smell like fish all the time, and she'd be itchy and uncomfortable. Like, you cannot be just shoving lemon up your hoo-ha without having just ages and ages of terrible infections. Like,
I mean, first of all, would that hurt? I feel like that would burn like an ass. I mean,
no,
that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I was thinking of how much your asshole would burn with it. That's why I said it too. Because all of, like, if your household, how is she, like, her legs are up and she's like
lemon, or is it like she's soaking a cloth and
yeah, that makes sense.
Tamponing? I don't understand. Number one, the mechanism.
We're gotten really hung up on this lemon thing.
So bad. Again, she should have had like just constant infections, just constant. He shouldn't have wanted to have sex with her because he should
have known his hoo-ha would have burned.
Yes, like there's that one point where Bjorn was like, you didn't realize something was up every time you had sex with her and you smelled lemony afterwards?
No. Your husband did not... Vrogi, you did not taste lemon? And she's like, taste. And I'm like, come on.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so don't put lemon in your hoo-ha. I don't think it is I don't think
safe or I mean, I'm not a doctor
form of contraceptive
nor a gynecologist, but I would say
don't do it. There's this conversation with Vrogi where she has this thing. He fucks off to go, like, I don't know, talk to some villagers. The Jarl's coming into town.
By the way, to be petty, he summoned a very large amount of fish onto the shore, and Freya is thinking to herself, we can't even sell all of this fish. It'll rot before then. That doesn't make any sense to me. They pickle it. Wouldn't they just pickle the fish? Isn't that what Vikings did? They literally pickled herring.
You can dry
Anyway, so that didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, so she starts throwing the fish back into the ocean. And as she does,
she throws a fish into the face of a
hot guy taking a bath.
That was like...
he just came out of the water. She didn't see him. He came out of the water.
A fucking mermaid, you know?
His horse was up on shore. How did she not
get down there?
Yeah,
I don't know. And also, did he see this entire fight between them?
Well, see, that's what was interesting to me. It would make sense to me if he was watching Vrogi and then was like, I want to go in the water and watch this woman throw fish into the water.
We're not given any of that. Anyway, so she smacks a guy in the face with a fish, and he's hot, and they like banter, and they flirt, and then
he's instantly like, you want to fuck? And then she's like, oh, I wish, but my husband.
And so he's like, well, I'm gonna go talk with the Jarl, and she's like, what business do you have with the Jarl? And he's like, I don't know you, lady. So then he fucks off, and then later the Jarl
gives me very much Karl Urban vibes because of the description of him. He basically looks like Karl Urban in Riddick, is the thing I'm getting, or the guy that the show you used to watch. Yeah, it's the Viking thing, the kingdom, the last kingdom, the last something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy with the braid and then like it goes all the way down.
Yeah.
I was picturing Carl Urban the whole time, so I was extra disappointed because I love Carl Urban.
And he's basically like, he's flirty. He has a lot of surety in his sexual prowess.
So, you know what at first, when he comes out of the water and everything, you're like, oh, okay, Nora Roberts, chill your boots. I know you haven't had intercourse for like 2 decades, but it'll be okay. But then later on, which will
Jensen, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I know that's me.
Really it was beautiful. I loved it.
No, it just when he comes out of the water, it's very like, and it's like very cheesy. And I kind of almost feel like she did it on purpose, but then like I can't accept that with the rest of the book's tone. But yeah, anyway, I would just want to mention real quick. Later on, there's a scene, not too, like literally the next time they see each other, and he banters again, but there's this one part, right? And I just want to mention it now because this is the only part I think he has a cool character, or he is a cool character. So he's come off as this like lackadaisical, very like flirty, like whatever dude, who's super hot, kind of bear-like, but his name is also Bjorn, so that also I'm being influenced by, but he is... I'm skipping a bit, but he's ordered to kill her, and his response is, damn, what a wasted pair of tits type of vibe.
Yeah.
And I love that. That is what I want. He's not that character.
It's so disappointing because given what we find out about him from the end, he should be that character. He should be so single-minded on his thing, and unfortunately, he's not. We're going to discover something, but it's a lie, and it just doesn't work because, like, it could have been that. He could have been that character, and... Anyway, so what happens is the Jarl's men come to their little compound, and
her brother.
Oh yes, so her brother comes.
I hate her brother.
Yeah.
From the get-go, her brother's a goddamn piece of shit. Her brother is acting like a kind of like a I'm not thinking much about life. I'm just living frat boy. He's a frat boy.
Yeah, and he's like he's one of the Jarl's men. He goes on his Drucker. Yeah, and does raiding.
And the only reason he's doing that is because Freya is of position because of Vrogi, and so he got into a position where he could be there. And he obviously feels very, like, thankful to his sister. Maybe not very. He feels a little, like, I
got the vibe that he was thankful.
Yeah.
I got the vibe.
He randomly later on becomes a vile, horrible
This
wretch.
first scene was not... I was like, oh...
He's a character.
He's a character. They're siblings. He
obviously loved her. He was willing to throw... Okay, wait a second.
Yeah, she really character assassinates the shit out of them.
Well, I already knew that, but like... Oh my god, it is so ridiculous. It's because he doesn't want to lose position because she's like, oh, life sucks. I want to be a shield maiden.
And she's just like, I don't want to be married to Froggy. And he's like, listen, you have to make him happy. Like, you can't just keep arguing with your husband. Like, you want him to stay with you. And it felt
very culturally appropriate the way he worded it.
Yeah,
like, I think she did a good job.
He was like, it felt like a, this is...
I love you, my sister, but you're too headstrong.
And also, but like, this is... like society. And I'm also going to make this thing is everybody in the first like 20 page or like a couple of chapters is like a woman warrior. What are you talking?
Which is bizarre.
It's insane because then eventually we meet a band of women warriors and there's also multiple times there's women in the shield walls. Yeah, literally with the other.
I know with the women warriors.
No, with the other. There's a point where they're fighting one of the other Jarls.
Also, there's a weird reason why they're called shield maidens.
Yeah, but like in the first few pages, everybody's like, "A woman who can fight." Fuck no.
Tee-hee. But she's been trained to fight by her father her whole life. And obviously, it's the norm.
Yeah, it was really weird how much everybody was just laughing at the fact because at the start of it, she's like, she has a stick and she's in the forest and she's like. Fighting trees and stuff, and she's like, I'm a shield maiden, and she's like imagining going and on the Drache and fighting and raiding.
Well, what have made more sense is that she's too beautiful for that, and they're like, no, we need to breed you, or like, something like that.
Your value is of more worth in a marriage than it is,
and it should have been her family, her father and her mother both should have still been alive, and the whole power thing should have been addressed completely differently, or maybe just the mother. That's fine, whatever. But the point is it should have been. Oh, just the mother. And they're like, we're so very poor, and we're not going to gamble with your raiding escapades. Your brother can go raid and dabble with that, but we need a reliable source of income or support. Therefore, you must marry.
Yeah.
And that would make especially with the single mom thing, because there's no man of the house type of thing.
Yeah. And it's just, anyway, whatever the situation is, she's like, you're told that that's what she has wanted her whole life. She's wanted to go. Her father taught her how to fight. Everyone,
and apparently she's good, but it doesn't seem like
she's
it.
not great. Like, she knows how to do it. She's like average for a woman who's not super, like, who hasn't done any actual battling, and whose father, who was the person that trained her, has been dead for a year.
And so it's kind of also like I feel like it's inferred a little bit that she's out of shape a little bit.
Yes. Anyway, so the Jarl comes and is like, oh, so you are Froggy's wife. I heard that you are the daughter of one of my previous guys, and he was a good fighter, and he taught you how to fight. And she's like, yes, he did. And he was like, here, take this sword. I'd like you to show us how to fight. And she's like, excuse me, what? And they were like, yes, Bjorn. And so then the guy that she was flirting with on the beach pops out and is like, you want me to fight her? And he was like, yes, I'd like you to fight her. And he's like, no. And
Bjorn is well renowned as being literally like the best fighter.
And also, he's also a god touched. So this is the other thing.
He shouldn't have been at all.
Why are there so many god touched? This should be a rare thing that happens. This book has like 8 of them. There's so many. They're everywhere. You could throw a rock and hit one.
Yeah, it's also... I don't like Tyr as the god that blesses him. It doesn't make sense, because the way I look, not that I'm like some Norse mythology like person, but Tyr, with this guy's... The original personality, yes. The personality we're given at the beginning, Tyr does seem it. But I also would have preferred him just not having any powers, and then him having to contend with others with powers.
Yep.
That would have been kind of hot.
A really badass fight.
That would have been hot.
Yeah. Anyway, he can summon a flaming axe that he can, and if he throws it, it'll come back to his hand. Basically, if you ever played God of War, God of War axe logic, okay? Mm-hmm. And so he's got his flaming fucking axe. And they're like, fight him, Freya. And she's got like a sword, and she's like, the fuck am I doing? And so like they have to, and he's half-heartedly doing it.
Yeah, but then his father, the Jarl is his father, by the way.
Yeah.
And he, but they obviously don't have a very, like, it's very much, although it doesn't make, it makes a little sense, but not a ton, especially not the way it's introduced right here. And I don't think it's done well here. No. But, he's like, no, like, Bjorn, you kind of stuck with your loyalty. And he's like, I've only ever done as you said. And he's like, yeah, but...
you won't do this thing. Because at first, Bjorn's like, I'm not fighting this woman.
And that's obviously makes sense. It's logical. It's like, why am I going to kill this person? Why am I going to murder this woman?
And at first, they were like, okay, to first blood. And the Jarl's like, no, to death.
That's so silly.
And they're holding back her brother.
It's so dumb.
Because she was having her conversation with her brother when everybody came upon them. And so they're holding back her brother.
And at this point, he's like, no,
this
stop
is my
it.
sister.
And he's willing to give everything up. And by the way, one of the big things is he's in love with this other Freya's friend,
Ingrid,
who is a throwaway character and should have never really been. Like, it's fine. She doesn't take up that much space.
She shouldn't exist. But like, the thing is, the problem with books like these, and Ingrid is a perfect example of this, is women don't have friends. They have no friends. Why do women in romantasy novels barely have friends? And if they do have friends, they're fucking token characters that nobody really actually cares about, and they have zero depth. Ingrid is supposed to be Freya's best friend, her childhood best friend, that her brother...
close with or whatever.
That her brother is in love with. And he's been saving up his monies to marry her. That's why he's been doing his hecking ratings. And in this moment, like Katie said, he's like, no, don't fight with my sister. Stop it. What are you doing?
So he obviously loves her. Yeah. And then let me just tell you, that never comes back.
Yeah. And so then there's this point where like the fighting is happening, and the Jarl is like, kill her! Stop holding back! And then Bjorn goes to do it, and in the last moment, and you as the reader don't know this is happening,
there is no lead up to this, which is both fun and not fun.
Yes. All of a sudden, she's like, Lean, protect me. And the shield that she has blazes silver. And when he hits her with the axe, he flies backwards.
Which is a very fun concept.
It's a great concept. I love the idea is whatever force you bring towards her shield will fly back on you. So if
it's just a touch.
If it's a touch, or if it's like a safety, it's not going to like trigger it. But if you come at, which is
a cool concept.
It's a great concept. But immediately, as long as you, the enemy, know that this is happening, like, and that's the rule of it, very easy to deal with. It's anyway.
I don't think you can get past it. Period. The logic
they
behind
can come from the back. But
remember, randomly later on, she bubbles them.
It's so dumb.
Okay, so that's like a whole other thing that I don't even think we're going to have time to get into. So I'm going to just quickly say, there is a magic system in this. And when I say magic system, I mean they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, the rules of her shield change towards the end of the book.
And there's no training montages where she learns how to use it and how to expand the powers or something like that, you know? No, none of that happens. One of the most interesting aspects of our main character is never explored.
Yes. Anyway, so everybody's like, oh, the shield maiden. And then the Jarl, his name is Snoggy.
Don't forget to face it.
Snoggy.
Or something like that.
Snorri? Snorri? I don't know. Something like that. We'll call him the Jarl. Snorri. So it might be Snorri. He's like, I shall marry her, and then she shall fulfill the prophecy, and I shall be the one who controls her fate, and then she shall make me king of Scotland. And everybody's like, oh, and then she's like, oh shit, this is why my dad didn't want.
That's so dumb. Also, but no, wait.
Why wouldn't her dad have told her? Why would you tell your child?
More importantly than that, the author can make the dad whatever you want, but hear me out on this. This is my pitch. Dad actually... the whole concept of her being the shield maiden or like lean or whatever, if there is a prophecy, which I also think there should be no prophecy, but that's like a whole other thing. That's my rewrite. But anyway, or if there is, it would be significantly different, but I don't even like the prophecy concept at all because it doesn't make too much sense to me in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is like, there are all these God touched, aren't there like a million prophecies about all these people? And like, how does that work in? And I get, maybe she's one. And maybe she's special, but then we're not told about other prophets. Like, it just feels very like contrived.
Yeah.
So that's the problem to me. But Dad honestly should have been like, oh, like, so let's say there's a prophecy. Dad says, oh, wow, my daughter is that thing. We must start training her. And because he's a fucking warrior in the band. Why wouldn't he be like, we've already started you fighting. Now let's train with shields and stuff like, or maybe they already started. That would make sense because they're all shield. So they already started that. And now they're like training and he actually arranges a marriage for her. Why wouldn't he want to do that?
He did arrange it. He married her to Froggy. He's only been,
No, but why wouldn't he have arranged it with the Jarl? Better status. He's already one of the men. Unless Dad's like, yo, this guy sucks ass. That is never said. That is never indicated. If anything, he was a loyal man.
Yes, he was loyal to the Jarl, but he was like, no.
Not my daughter, because she'll be torn apart. How does he think that? How is he smart enough to think that?
He basically is like, anyone who wants to become king will try control you and control your fate. And so he's like, so we're just, and instead of telling her, he's just like, you can't tell anyone about this power.
That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Does it?
I would have told her, I would have been like, yo, this is, I at a certain point, I would have just been like, this is the problem. If people find out, they'll think you're the person from the prophecy, whether you are or aren't, who am I to say? Mm-hmm. But this is the situation. You decide what you're going to do with it, you know? And just tell her. Like, there's the why would he try
to just hide her, period?
The big mistake he made was just being like, never use your powers.
That doesn't make any sense.
Never expose yourself. Don't tell anyone you're the child of Lena or that you have any powers. We're just going to marry you and you'll be a fishmonger's wife. And
yeah, because that's the best. And I'm sure her father knew Vrogi's reputation. So if he loves his daughter and is like, I don't want you to be torn apart, and he loves her so much that he does all of this, but then he's like, yeah, go marry this man who hurts people.
Froggy. Like,
that doesn't logically make sense to me. The characters are not written
because
correctly.
her dad is painted as like mainly a good guy, and so it's just like a weird choice. Now, granted, he is one of the most powerful men in the village that they happen to live in, and like one of the richest. But
how is Vrogi abusing her?
Unless he doesn't physically like abuse her.
He does actually. He cuts her cheek.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. He's not a good guy. He's a shitbag.
Look, if Dad didn't actually know Vrogi and there was no reputation and he did it behind closed doors, that would make more sense to me.
Anyway, so she realizes in this moment, this is why my dad told me, and he was right. I don't want to do this. But the Jarl is like, if you, so number one, he breaks her brother's leg for hiding because her brother knew who she was and never told them, and so they were like, you aren't loyal, so they break his leg. And
also, then why would you break his leg? He's a valuable warrior.
Because the minute he finds out, so the other thing I have to explain is Vrogi was the one who exposed her because she would go practice her magic on certain nights, and he'd follow her out because he thought she was having an affair, and he saw this, and then he was like, I want a wife who will actually give me children. And this is how this should have gone. This is how this story should have gone. She should have married Vrogi. Vrogi shouldn't have been an asshole. He just should have been someone, and they didn't love each other. And at a certain point, he was just like, I just want a wife that I, like, will love me, and it's not you. And it shouldn't have been this terrible. He can even think
she's a harpy or something.
It's not even that. I want two people who don't dislike each other, but they just don't like each other.
Fair enough.
You know, like, they're just two people living neutrally in a house together, and he wants children. Like, he wants children. Make him, like, less of an asshole, but a practical man. And he's like, I'm going to ask for a divorce. I'm going to talk to the
maybe she doesn't
Jarl.
want to have a child because she's still young, where she's like, maybe I can still be a shield maiden if I figure things out and make the right choices.
Yeah, or maybe they just haven't had a kid, you know?
Yeah, that's also cool. There's no lemon. Please, no lemon.
No lemon. Zero lemon, okay? And then he goes to divorce her, and then it goes wrong. And he might, not knowing what the prophecy is, he might be like, also, I think she'd be a valuable... She's always wanted to fight, and she happens to be a shield maiden. Like, what if it wasn't a betrayal? He was genuinely like, hey... I mean, that would have been
divorce my more wife. Interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to divorce my wife. She's a perfectly fine girl. Her she's always wanted to battle in the Dracher, and I happen to know that she's a shield maiden of Lean. I don't know why she's hiding it, but she is, and I think she'd be a valuable addition. And then if you'd break our marriage, that'd be great. And then to have it blow up, and for him to be like, oh no, I have fucked up. This is terrible. And then for him to try to go back on his word and be like, no, I changed my mind. I'm not going to divorce her. That way the Jarl can't take her, and then the Jarl kills Vrogi.
I mean, yeah, that would be fine. I don't care really too much about that. I don't love that idea, but I don't hate it either.
Yeah, for me, it's the idea of, like, having a death that feels like it's on her hands.
But why would it, okay, so my question is how does that work into the character? Like, why would that specifically help her grow as a character /
No, it would just make the Vrogi a more nuanced character.
Oh, yeah, I just don't think he has to die. He could just be like, yo, I want to...
Yeah, and he doesn't have to die.
Because the thing is, I just think him dying is needless, and I think
that's true. So he doesn't have to die, but it happens, and, like, she's angry at him, but she also understands what happened and that it wasn't a bad... And he can even tell her afterwards, like, hey, this is 100%. I had no idea. I had seen you doing this, and I thought it would get you what you wanted, and I could get what I wanted. That's not what happens. Instead, what happens is Vrogi's like, now I'll go marry... So... A couple of things.
Be careful, it's going to spike on this if you do that.
A couple of things. Number one, the Jarl is like, if you won't marry me, I'll kill your brother. And she's like, no, please don't kill my brother. I will marry you as long as you keep him on your Dracher and you, like, leave him in his position, despite this whole thing. And then he's like, okay. And then he's like, but you were disloyal, brother, so I'm going to break your leg. Once your leg is healed and you can walk, you can come back and be on my ship. And she's like, no, why would you do that? And then, also because Vrogi was like, I'll marry Ingrid. I'll go. Her dad's looking for someone to marry her, so I'll go.
And if you remember, that's the young lady that's her friend
that her brother is in love with and wants to marry, and that she doesn't want Vrogi to marry her because Vrogi is no good. So she's like, no. And so then after her brother's like, it's broken, she's agreed to marry the Jarl. Vrogi's like, I'm gonna marry Ingrid anyway,
bitch.
And so then she gets super mad, like she's angry.
And she murders him.
She grabs Bjorn because he's holding her back at this point. She grabs Bjorn's flaming axe. It is an axe that is on fire.
With tears fire, which, you know, is, I'm sure, special.
Yeah. She grabs it. She throws it at Vrogi. Perfect. I don't know if this bitch is throwing an axe in
She always hits her mark. Have you noticed this?
She throws it. It hits him square in the back of his head.
How does she have the strength to throw it that far?
Also, why doesn't it disappear the minute it comes out of
He literally says before, like, it can, like, he could have just turned off the flame also.
Or just disappeared the axe. Like,
why? Anyway.
She throws it, it embeds itself in Vrogi's head, Vrogi's dead, and they're like, oh, Freya born in fire.
Which doesn't make any sense. It's because, okay, so she burned her hand, she's born in fire.
Well, I think, so initially...
Like, it reveals her, but no.
The reason the dad was like, Bjorn has to be the one that fights her as part of the prophecy is that she will be revealed from fire.
Okay, so that actually, you know what's funny? The author never connects that for you. I don't think.
She does.
She does?
Yeah, she talks about it, like...
Oh, I did not remember
beginning.
that part.
Yeah, anyway. And so it had to be Bjorn who did the fight. And then when she throws the axe, everybody's like, oh, she's a warrior. Oh, she's doubly born in fire. And she's got like this scarred, like her hand is literally in fire, like totally burnt. And so they take her back to the Jarl's homestead. Which
she
is
heals.
Called, Hollister?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, she heals up. They marry her. Her and Bjorn are doing the flirty flirts, and then like literally the night of the wedding, when she is supposed to get jiggy with the Jarl with Snorri. They go because like there's a big party, everybody's having a good time, and she's like, "Oh, this is nice," and then the Jarl's like, "It's time," and everybody's like, "Go, you bed that lady."
Now we see the author and the sophistication I think she is capable of as far as like portrayal of interesting characters, because they go behind closed doors.
I also should say prior to this point we're introduced to his wife.
Ingrid?
Ingrid is
that's the friend. What's her name?
It's Ivira, I don't remember.
Okay, we're just going to call her Jarl's wife.
Yeah,
so the Jarl's wife, isn't he cute?
I know. She's a rune magic-y user, and she's also a bit of a, like, she's like, ugh, look at this girl. Like, I don't...
She's irritated that she's there. It's because her and Vroggy have a very loving...
Snorri.
Oh, God, Jesus. The Jarl and his wife have a very close relationship, and they're very passionate and very loving. And she's also very well regarded in the community. She's looked up upon. She's kind of very matronly to other people. And
she cares a lot about her community.
Yeah.
But you don't see that at first. She just seems like a bitch. And so you think the author is just going to go into the like, oh, this is the guy's previous wife and she's a bitch.
But anyway, so they go behind closed doors
to do the deed, and the wife comes with and is supposed to like watch, and she's like I
can't do this. This is too much for me.
And she's like, I can't do it again. I can't have you sleep with another. So you immediately learn that he has slept with someone else outside of their marriage previously, which she did not handle well. That's Bjorn. He's the bastard child.
Yeah, and the saga, his mother was like a soothsayer type of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, and so she's like, I can't do this. And he was like, but we have to. If it's not a legitimate marriage, the gods will know. I have to be the master of her faith. And Freya's like, oh my God, here's my out. Because like, and she can see like in this moment as they hold each other, she can tell how much they love each other and how much he like.
And what's nice also is that Freya's very empathetic in this moment.
Yeah.
She feels like a very kind character. One that's like, oh, like she herself understands that Jarl's wife is actually like just hurt
and
inside. Also
that the Jarl doesn't want to sleep with her either. He was reluctant as well. So she's like, what if I just swear an oath? Like, can we do an oath? I don't want to sleep with you. And the wife
I don't understand why the sex even mattered in the first place.
Exactly.
It's because she could just swear the oath.
It could have been done, she could have just been oath bound to him, and it could have been public knowledge. Anyway, I don't know why. You want to know why? Because
I know, romanticy.
Yes, the romanticy, the forbidden, I am your father's wife thing.
That's like brought up so dramatically so many times.
And it's not even true. Like nobody actually gives a shit. And
nobody cares. Literally not a single person cares.
Except towards the end. And like, anyway. So they swear an oath, and basically they say you have to swear never to betray anyone of this blood.
And as soon as they kept repeating that, I was like, oh come on
it's
now.
Bjorn. She can do whatever she wants with Bjorn, and it's okay because it's of this blood. Like, it's the same like vague language that you get from the original prophecy where you're like, okay, I can see what you're doing. Like, the hand's showing, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she makes the swearing, and then she also says, I'll do it provided Snorri never touches me. And the wife is like, don't worry. And like they're super into each other, and they
start making out.
Yeah,
and
but they were like everybody's listening. They have to hear sex noises, and she's like, you guys do that. And the wife's like, okay, you go down this tunnel and you stay there.
Don't go because it's an escape route from their quarters.
Yeah. So they go and they start having sex. She goes there and she immediately is like, I'm gonna go fuck around. So she starts fucking around.
I mean, yeah, I would.
And she sees that one of their competing Jarls is there to attack them because they've heard that she's been discovered. And everyone, despite the fact that her entire family and village did not know about this fucking prophecy, everyone else does. The other Jarls, the other people, they all know that the child of Lean, born on the blood moon, will unite all of Scotland and make a king.
It really should have just been a regional thing. Like people in the region knew of the prophecy. It's because the thing is Saga his lover, Bjorn's mother, was the person who gave the prophecy. She, it is specifically stated, was like hidden away in this like little cabin out in the middle of nowhere with Bjorn.
She hid herself. It was her choice.
The point is, though, why in God's name would the Jarl not have been like, nobody must know this prophecy, kills her, or nobody must know this prophecy, go into this hut? Like, what? And he even tries to, spoilers, he tries to kill her later, which would make sense if he's like, okay, nobody must know of this prophecy. Why would he allow anybody to know the prophecy?
I think part of it was the idea that he wanted everyone to know that this was the thing, so that
for the power,
because once he finds her, he can be like, you know the prophecy, I'm the man in control of her fate.
The thing is, though, is that that's playing on the concept of politics versus the magic of the prophecy itself saying that he will be successful. So there's like this weird, tell me if I'm wrong, there's like this like dichotomy between his reasoning,
yes,
slash how she's being used.
So I think that's intentional in this particular instance, that he constantly is believing or not believing things based on how he needs to twist it.
Now for him,
his
that makes sense, but that also is a plot. Like, I don't know, I just don't feel like that's really made literary clear in the book.
I would say that it's not. Anyway, so this other Jarl, Janut, is attacking, and she sees it, and she's like, we're being attacked, and then she goes back, and they're like, oh, stay here, we're gonna protect you and do stuff, and then she's like, oh no, I can't just stay here while people are dying, they're doing stuff. She's like, I'll burn their ships, I'll go burn their...
Which is a good idea.
So she goes out, and then she uses, Bjorn's like, what the fuck are you doing? You had one job. Man.
Stay in a corner.
And also, his father has decided that it's Bjorn's fate to protect her and to be her. And I'm like, buddy, you are throwing them into close proximity. Have you seen? They're two hot young people. What are you doing? Like, it's like he wanted them to.
Yeah.
Fuck around.
It did not feel like he actually cared at all.
It didn't, and then it comes up at the end, and everyone's like, "We've known this whole." It's we'll get there, but anyway. So Bjorn helps her light the Drache on fire, and
she almost dies. Rescue, blah blah blah. She helped save the day, even more so. Freya born on fire. Janut's like, "We shall be back." Runs off. End of battle. I just wanted to summarize the battle.
And then they're like, "Oh, we have to go to this big festival thing." Like,
she has to make a sacrifice.
Yes, because so everyone is going to go to this festival, but then there's a specter, this like flaming person. That's
I wonder who that is.
Yeah,
you know who it is now. Yes,
his mom.
No, it's not his mom. Remember, it's disproven.
Yeah.
No, it's Hel.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's this flaming person just floating around, and is like, if you don't sacrifice a thing by the first moon of
then you won't have the favors of the gods.
Well, you'll die. You'll be done.
Yes.
And so they were like, we need to take Freya to this sacred festival thing, and we need to go. And so they're like, Snorri's like, we're gonna take all of the
Why
warriors.
would he take all the warriors?
We're gonna take all the warriors to make sure nobody can take Freya.
Okay, so this is...
For plot, Katie.
No, I know. But there are times where it really feels like he's a real character who knows politics. Or doesn't, I wouldn't say knows politics, but is supposed to know politics.
Who has been a leader for
and then there are times
30 years.
And then there are times where he starts acting like a foolish leader. And I guess you could be both, but it just kind of feels irregular. Inconsistent.
It's so inconsistent, because there's times where you feel like he's really smart, and there's other times where he feels like a goddamn idiot. It's kind of like in Game of Thrones when what's-his-face becomes a complete idiot. When so many characters in the TV show become idiots for the sake of the plot.
Keep giving plot stuff. I'm going to go get more pips.
Yes. Anyway, so they have to go to this festival. On the way, they kind of get attacked. Also, the Jarl has a skald. Yeah, a skald, which is like a singer, a bard. He has this bard lady, but she's a god-touched bard of the, like... So any song she sings, you will see and feel what happened in the moment of what she's singing about. And it's convenient. Again, why are there so many god-touched children just floating around? Like, Jesus, like, they're just everywhere. In this one little area, like, in his fiefdom, there's, like, 5 already. Anyway, So she's like, let me hear your songs and your stories, Freya, so I can go. The Jarl wants me, Snorri wants me to go sing across the hills so that people can learn of you and come to his side. And she's like, that sounds invasive. I don't want to do that. And Bjorn is like, fuck that lady. We don't want to do that at all. Anyway, so they go to the big festival thing, but they get attacked on the way. They keep getting attacked. So they're like, you know what? This makes no sense. We're not going to do this. And Snorri's like, you, Bjorn, and Freya, you're going to go up this mountain pass.
Why wouldn't he go himself if he's so obsessed?
Yep. I have, again, the writer just is like, here's what has to happen to the plot. And he was like, you're going to go up this mountain pass that nobody else uses. It's super isolated. Nobody uses it. You're going to go up it and go through it. And that's how you're going to get to the festival. And except Bjorn's like, but it's filled with zombie warriors. Like, what are you doing? And basically the idea is a long time ago, at this festival, there's a temple up on top of this mountain, and some thieves stole a bunch of stuff from the temple, and they tried to use this mountain pass to get out of, but they were then cursed to be the undead.
Everyone.
It's Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, it's Lord of the Rings, too.
Yeah, that too.
It's the, you know.
Oh, but it's Lord of the Rings in two ways. It's Lord of the Rings in two ways.
They're also, it's the environment too, yeah.
Yeah, because, so anyway, they have to go up, and, like, why would you send her up? Because nobody comes back from this trail. And also, if you die up in there, you become one of the immortalized zombie dead people. Why does he think this is a good idea?
So again, this is another instance where you're kind of like, I don't really understand the reasoning here, because if she is also important, but then he also says, this is a test for Freya. If she passes it, then she's the true thing. If she doesn't, then it was never worth it. But that doesn't really make sense for all the investment he's put into her.
Yeah, and also, like, the fact that you took all of your warriors
like, if he
to
just
protect her.
If he was like, all right, like, but the thing is he would have had to be disbelieving from the beginning. He should have been, what's the word, questioning? Dubious?
Yes.
He should have been like, okay, I really want you to be this thing, but if you've been tasked this, you go do it with these warriors I send you. And what really this should have been the fellowship. This should have been the beginning of the fellowship. We should have gotten the Skald. We should have gotten Bjorn. We should have gotten Freya. We should have gotten...
the healer?
I think so, yeah, Leaf. Mm-hmm. It's because it would make sense for a healer to go. Mm-hmm. And then we go off.
Like,
and then
a
that's
little nice D&D party. We got the bard, the druid, the... warrior, and then the cleric. You know, it would have been nice, but no. Anyway, so he decides, after bringing all of these people to protect her, because they keep losing men, and they're like, oh, we're losing too many men, we're never going to make it there. And the other thing is they have to make it on time and at their current pace, and yet they arrive like right after them.
Yeah, it doesn't actually make sense.
It makes zero sense. I don't, because like... Anyway, so they send her and Bjorn up the mountain. The Skald comes with them at first, and then turns back because it's super dangerous. And they go through the mountain pass, and there's this moment where they're just walking through, and then Bjorn hits a gold cup, and it goes bouncing off.
Oh my god, I forgot that's what instigated.
And then all of a sudden you hear the shuffling.
It actually specifically says the drums.
You hear boom, 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 and the scuttling of bony feet.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's literally
fucking Lord of the Rings.
It's so funny.
It's the Mines of Moria. Like, it's just, and I'm sitting there like, what? And then it's like a bunch of the undead who have been cursed by this thing. And so they have to fight them, and the only weapon that works is his axe, because they can't be like her. She's using her sword, and it's not working.
Question.
Yeah?
Why didn't she just use her shield to deflect them and just move forward?
Yeah, I don't... I don't know. I got nothing for you.
Because she kind of does that later on.
Yep.
Anyway.
I don't know. Anyway, so he's mainly doing stuff and she's just standing there. And then there's too many of them, and then he starts calling for the leader of the dead zombie guys. And he's like, come out here. Your men have been cursed because of you. You show your face. And the guy comes out and he's like, you summoned me. And then he's like, I summon you to do hand-to-hand combat, like one mano y mano. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like,
yeah, okay, but you can't use your axe.
Yeah, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it on normal terms, which is we both have to use normal weapons, but a normal weapon won't kill him. And so she's sitting there like, oh my god. So Bjorn comes, puts his axe in front of Freya.
How does he
still
know
flaming.
She can do this? How does he know?
He doesn't. He literally admits that later. It's so dumb. But he puts it in front of her. Also, why when he lets go of it, doesn't it just disappear? Unless it's being used for, like, throwing.
Look, I mean, maybe he can control it being there.
Anyway, so he leaves it in front of her, still on fire, just flaming away. And again, she's already burnt herself fucking once.
And she's like, wait a second. I can wear my shield like a glove and hold the axe. Which, yes, that's a cool idea. But it's like...
Where did you get that idea?
Also, where have you trained in this timeline where you're like, I know how... Does it just happen? It never just... Like, it's not very fun just to have the power happen with no rules.
Yes, it is not. So eventually, he's almost about to die, and he's like, on the floor, and the guy's got a thing, and she takes the axe and she throws it.
And she also hits her mark again. Perfect.
Yes, perfectly. Again, when has she been doing it? We learned that her dad taught her how to fight, but axe throwing is very specific. Anyway, it works. Perfect. End over end. Whew. Kills the guy. All of his zombie dead people to him, poof, dead. Great, we're good to go. They spend the night in the cave, and she's cold, and he ends up, like, staying awake the whole night to keep his flaming axe out to warm her. So the next morning, he hasn't slept at all. They come out.
It doesn't make any sense. If he can just control it, or he has to be actively awake, I guess.
I mean, it's just, but it's also dumb. Just, like,
build a fire.
Exactly. I'm sure there's kindling. Make a fire in this fucking giant cave. Anyway, so they go out, and, like, the people at the temple, because, like, this portion of the temple,
this is a
like,
really dumb
knows.
gimmick. What happens right here?
They're like, we've come through. We killed all the zombies. You can go in there. The treasure is.
Listen to this. Wait, listen to this back and forth real quick. I have to, like, okay. So they come out of the cave. There are these people. They're like, wow, something strange has happened. They're like, yeah, we just killed all those things. There's treasure. You should go get it. And they're like, oh, yeah. And so a couple people run in there to go get treasure. They go to the temple, whatever. And then they can't get into the temple yet. So then they backtrack. I don't remember why. It doesn't matter, though. They backtrack. They go back to the caves.
Oh, there's a lot of people there who are looking for them before they get into. Because, like, you can't get into the festival, like the sacred festival ground, unless you do a thing. But whatever thing they have to do is going to take so long that they need to disguise themselves. So they go back to the fucking caves.
Yes. So they go back to the caves, and then they rob the
temple people.
Yeah, no, they're not temple people technically.
No, they are to the
temple
people. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then they rob them, and they're like, "Aha, get out!
We'll take your clothing. We want your clothes."
Yeah, and then they run out, and then they go back out, and then there are opposing forces that are going to try to take her, and so they have to recite, like, that they, like, you know,
honor all the gods. So they the priest basically has to say all of the gods, and you have to agree to honor.
Yes.
It's like by group of 5, and it's taking a long time. And at first things are kind of going okay, but then somebody's like, "Who's those guys that they robbed?" Come out and are like, "These people took that's them. They took our clothes, and they're trying to get in, capture them."
But then the priest also is okay and like, hurry up, like he's on their side.
He realizes that she's Freya. Like, he realizes she's the shield maiden and what's happening. Because everybody, like, again, everybody knows about this except for the village she grew up in.
Apparently.
It makes no sense. But anyway, so they eventually, like, and there's this point where Bjorn's like, I'll fight while you get in. And so, like, he's fighting, but then there's too many people. And she kind of, like, once she does the thing and she's able to go over to the other side, the priest is kind of holding her back to keep her because he knows she's safe on this side because you're not allowed to spill blood on the sacred grounds. But she kind of throws her body half out, grabs Bjorn, and it envelops him, like turns him into a shield so that when they hit him with arrows, they bounce back.
Again, I ask, how did she learn how to do this?
Yes, but not just that. Then, as this is happening, Snorri and his warriors appear. They've been here for an hour, tops, guys. And Snorri appears. He gets there an hour after them with his fucking warriors. And you're like, why did we do this? Why did we go through that stupid mountain pass if you guys arrived on the same day? Like, I don't understand. Anyway, so Snorri and his warriors, like, save them. And the book is like, oh, we were able to get here so fast because we kept using some of the slave women, pretending they were you and sending them in different directions. So then the evil people just
Why didn't we do that in the first place?
Why didn't we do that in the first place?
Why did we have the minds of Moira? Moira.
But also, why didn't they just cut off her hair and dress her as a man? Like, they're looking for a shield maiden, not just a dude.
They literally could have just buzzed her hair off.
Yep. They could have just shaved her head.
Obviously they don't have a buzzer, but like...
Yeah, they could have just shaved her head.
That would have been... Wait a second. Let's explore that for 5 seconds.
Shaved the sides, made it short, made her look like a guy.
No. Shave the whole thing, because then it'll really make her look like, you know?
And make her look just like a young boy.
Yeah, it'll make her look younger, too. Mm-hmm. And then bind her breasts.
Yep.
And then just put her in men's clothing. Why didn't that happen? Imagine...
At least to get here.
Everyone, I want you to imagine the sexual tension we would have had with that, where she's in men's clothes and she looks like... And then he's like... Never mind.
Katie's like, let's make Bjorn a bi icon.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is. No, but that would be hot. That would be hot.
Can you tell that Katie read a lot of slash fiction growing up? She's into that boy love.
Like, it's delicious.
I know. Anyway, so that would have solved. And again, it doesn't have to be the whole time. He wants her to look like a woman because, again, it's his like marker. I have the shield made and blah blah blah. But at least to smuggle her here to get here on time. Why didn't they do that? Anyway, so they're all there. They go into the festival grounds. People are partying. It's
an orgy. She does the religious thing,
and all the gods appear. All of them appear, and they're like, "Thank you, Freya, our daughter." And everybody's like, "Oh my God! All the gods blessed her. She must be the one prophesized about." That's so cool.
By the way, I can't fully describe how undistinct this town is, city, place. I can't picture it.
It's just like
a blob.
Yeah, it's the descriptions of environments is very lacking in this book. It's
poor as fuck.
It's so bad. Anyway, so while they're up there, like big party orgies are happening. She's supposed to stay inside their like house that they've been given because
their
protection runes has put protection runes on it, so nobody can come in. And so her and Bjorn are supposed to be staying there. The wife is there as well. The wife ends up leaving, the Jarl's wife. And then Bjorn ends up leaving. She tries masturbating, but then Bjorn moves and it throws her out of it. Then Bjorn leaves the...
I'm not going to lie, the masturbation scene was pretty solid. The sex scene's awful.
Yeah.
But like, the masturbation scene was actually like, I mean, look, it's cheesy because it's masturbation. But it's actually like, it was like... I was like, I get you, Freya.
Yeah, like it's, you know, like a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do when you're married to the father of the man you'd like to sleep with.
Also, she is it's stated she's very horny.
Yeah, she's young. She's like 20.
Yeah, you know.
She's 20.
And she also...
she's never had fun sex in her life. It's all been Mother Palm and her 5 daughters.
Yes. And so, honestly, it is a downtime moment. Yeah. So it does make sense. It's not too bad. I actually, for a romantic-y bit... That's a fun little, like, it was good. It was fine.
But he like moves and she's like, oh my God, can you tell I'm doing this? And then,
I mean, I would think that too.
Yeah. And then he leaves and she's like, where is he going? And where did this other lady go? They both left. Let me follow after them, even though everybody here is trying to get
also,
me.
It doesn't really, I don't understand why she cares. Like, she was never political to begin with. I don't really see the fervor of building up for her politicalness. It just seems like survival from moment to moment. And so for
why does she...
her to be intrigued by...
Originally she leaves because she thinks Bjorn's been captured. Because the man...
Oh, she keeps thinking, what if they bonked him on the head?
Yes, because the man... So
that's true.
Bjorn was not raised... So Bjorn is our... what's the guy from Fourth Wing? What's his name?
Xaden Ryerson.
Xaden Ryerson. He's our Xaden Ryerson for this reason. After his mother had the prophecy and she was killed, he was taken by the king of this other kingdom, Nordaland. And he was raised there as a hostage. And, you know, but even though Snorri rescued him at a certain point, everybody's like, he spent too much time there. He's basically a Nordlander.
Which is true.
He's not a Skarlander. And so,
I wish that was played up more. Yeah. I wish his cultural differences were there and his accent was different.
Yes, or it's mentioned more often, because it is mentioned that, like, eventually somebody else has an accent that sounds the way he speaks, but it wasn't mentioned earlier that he had a weird accent.
Ever.
And anyway, and so he is because Xaden Ryerson is, like, the son of, like, a revolutionary, and so everybody's like...
Taken hostage by person.
And everybody's like, oh, he's, like...
And he has a really good power. Yeah. That's very strong.
But he's also not trusted by the people he's surrounded by, and also ends up being the person trying to teach the main character how to fight. And so Bjorn is really filling that role. But the Nordalanders are here, and she's like, oh my God, what if they captured Bjorn? And and because they're here
blah,
and
blah,
like
blah.
they're da-da-da. She's like, I'm gonna go help him. I just need to make sure what happens to him. I'll find Snorri because he's been gone. Bjorn's been gone a long time.
Why would she just continue masturbating at that point and be like, thank God I have some peace and quiet?
And also, like, why? I don't understand why she left because she's like, I'll rescue Bjorn.
Don't forget, like,
she also invented him being in trouble.
Yeah, like it's kind of, again, it's the author just shoving in a plot point.
Which is basically she finds the Nordalander encampment and she sneaks in and she sees
somehow
the king.
She's that good.
Yeah, she sees the king of Nordaland talking to someone but they're behind a pillar. She can't see who it is.
And it's a woman, it seems like, and they're hooded, and it's like, oh no. She immediately thinks it's the Jarl's wife.
Because it says something about, a mother has to take care of her son, and she's like, it's the Jarl's wife. She's gonna kill Bjorn so that her son can inherit.
Also, why is Bjorn inheriting anything? It doesn't make any sense. It makes the legitimate marriage is the... Anyway.
His father's like, he's my firstborn. He's the one who's going to inherit.
But why would his father even want that if he doesn't feel like he's a real Skalander?
I don't know. I can't fucking tell you. But anyway, so she's like, it's what's her face. She's the one. And then she follows the person who leaves. She follows them out. They try to enter the quarters, yeah. And they get thrown back. And she's like, oh my God.
The runes fought against the Jarl's wife, even though they're her own runes. And it's like, how does she know that even works that way?
Yeah, and also because it's supposed to be anyone who means harm can't come in. And it's like...
Then how did she enter earlier?
Yeah, she was in there earlier. Like, what are you... It makes no sense. And the author really wants to make Freya think the Jarl's wife is evil.
But it makes her seem... First of all, it makes her she does not seem like a real character, a real person in that moment. She seems like a rough draft.
And she also just feels like the mouthpiece of the writer.
Yeah.
Because the writer's like, wouldn't this be a cool idea? But the text doesn't do enough to justify her suspicions.
Not at all.
No point are you like, my first thought was, it's the Skald.
Yeah, so from this, I know.
Yeah.
I was instantly, I was like, that's the only other woman that knows that's mystic
and who's also missing.
Yes. Anyway, so it's from this point on, ladies and gentlemen, that Freya devolves and
this is
unwinds.
the end of the first third that was kind of decent.
Yeah, and then all from here, everybody just unravels.
Yeah. So Bjorn went and spoke to someone, and he got a prophecy that their homestead is going to be attacked and burnt down.
So then they run really quick, way back.
At first, Snorri's like, no, I don't care. I'm going to go attack someone else. I don't give a fuck. And his wife's like, what are you doing? Those are our people. That's our home. We have to go back. Our
stores of food are there. The whole reason we go to war is there.
And Freya is like, oh, well, if I go, I can change fate. I can keep this from happening. Let's go. We'll fight, and then we'll get our people, and we'll be strong. But by the time they get there, it's burnt down.
But also, the women and children are still alive.
Yes, some of the women. And Leif, the Jarl's wife's son, is still alive. I also have to mention...
Life. His name's Leif.
Life, there we go. The other thing I have to mention is when all the gods appeared, when she did her, offering to all of them, when all of them appeared, they called her Freya Two Blood, and so they're like, oh, mortal and God.
Of course, you're
like, oh, there's two gods.
Yeah.
Lean is half of whatever's going on.
It's the two dragons. It's the two dragons thing.
Yes, it's the two dragons. She's got... two dragons. It's fucking Violet Sorengale.
I know. It's so again,
annoying.
Is this just like the...
It feels like Fourth Wing fanfiction.
I'm telling you.
Like a Norse AU. Fourth Wing fanfiction. That's exactly what it feels like. Anyway, so they go back. It's burnt down. They're like, oh no. And then he's like, we're going to just go straight to... because it's Janut, the same guy who fought them earlier. Or Canute did this attack and burnt everything down, and they're like, instead of rebuilding, we're gonna go get his home, which is nicely warded, and we'll just attack him and take what he has. And they're all like, yeah, let's do it. And Freya's like, are we sure? Like, that just seems like... And Bjorn's like, yeah, that's a super well-guarded place. Like, this is... A lot of people are gonna have to die to do this. Are you okay with this? And Bjorn, the entire time, you're like, oh, Bjorn is absolutely more of a Nordlander. That's not what the place is called. But anyway, he's like... Because he keeps saying things like, do you really like what Snorri is pushing you to do? Is this who you want to be? And it's very obvious that Freya doesn't. But then Freya's like... He has my family. But if I don't do what he says, he'll kill them.
Okay, let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah. So they go, there's this whole thing where they meet this lady named Bodhi, where she's
a feminist.
She's a Jarl, a female, the only female
She's
Jarl.
a feminist.
And she's also God touched. They're fucking everywhere.
She's a truth. She can tell if you're lying or telling the truth.
And
and then she immediately dies.
Yes, her and Freya kind of become friends, and she's also someone that the Jarl's wife went to and was like, help us. So Bodhi's forces are going to help them attack this other place. They have to go up a mountain. Freya falls. She nearly dies of fucking frostbite. There's a scene where someone has to put her feet in armpits.
And at this point, I want everyone to know that what... I don't even think I can say he had a character. What little character Bjorn had...
Just go straight out the window.
There was nothing. There was like 2 moments. He is now only a plot. He is now a penis for Freya to lust after.
And also, like, Team Freya. Like, so Team Freya.
He does not have a character.
He doesn't have his own goals. He doesn't have his own things. He's just like, I'm here for you. You want to run away? Let's do it.
You want to do this? I'll do it. You want to do that? I'll do it. Anything you want, I'll do it. You want to call me? You want to go back and forth? You want to make my life more difficult? Doesn't matter. I love you.
Like,
you're my future.
You're just the best. I think you're the greatest thing. And it's... Because, like, they haven't known each other. Like, literally at this point, it's been maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, because, again, when they went to go to that other festival, it was literally the night of the wedding, which was, like, the next day. So it's been, like, 2 weeks that they've known each other. And so this book is real bad at developing interpersonal relationships between the characters. It's fucking terrible. The same thing's going to happen with Bodhi, where... Freya and Bodhi bond. Bodhi's women start trying to teach her how to be a shield maiden.
Which makes a lot of sense. And I thought that was going to... I want everyone to know, Bodhi not only dies instantly... after really us getting to know her.
Barely.
And like this overly melodramatic scene as if like she'd been a great character. Also, we have a bonding moment where Freya's like, you know what? I've been, like she realizes I'm really putting myself in a bad position for Bjorn and my family because by doing this flirting and stuff and putting him in a poor position, I shouldn't even... It's almost like she has like this parental moment where she's like, I shouldn't allow these things to happen. Mm-hmm. And I liked that. And then she was like, instead, I've forgotten what I should be seeking and what I've always wanted, which is sisterhood. And so then she goes off with like, which is never stated.
Yeah.
And then she goes off and she drinks and is like part of the women and everything. And
we don't get those scenes. We don't actually get to see her training with the women warriors. We get
like one mention of it.
Like, but it's like a paraphrasing. It's not in scene.
Yes.
It's not in scene. We don't have that. But anyway, so they go, they do the thing. Her and, while they're, like, after also, she's dying of frostbite, her and what's-his-face kind of, like, he
fingers her.
He fingers her.
Okay.
Not enough clit.
No, not at all.
Not enough clit.
Remember how at the beginning of the story, she's like, I've always wanted to be a shield maiden. This is my life, blah, blah, blah. And she's like doing all this stuff. As soon as she joins the shield maiden, she's like, this isn't just fun because I don't get to flirt with Bjorn.
Yeah.
She literally says that.
She literally is like, he gets me super impassioned and that makes fighting fun. And
that's the only reason. Like, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you just wanted to be a shield maiden for foreplay.
Yeah, like, who knew? That's what you got out of it. But anyway, so then they go to attack this place, and so she's in the shield wall, and one of the things, it happens at an earlier point.
They're attacking the people who attacked them, and those people have a really sick-ass fortress that's way more advanced and awesome.
Yeah, and, like, just this area is just way more fortified, and so it's like this is gonna be rough.
And they also are attacking this instead of rebuilding because, and this kind of makes sense. They're like, there's no way we're gonna rebuild totally and have enough stores for winter. So because of that, let's steal theirs.
And also that their fiefdom is in such a bad area that like it's super easily attackable, no defense.
So that all makes sense.
It does make sense. Anyway, so they go to do this attack, and they do the shield wall, and she can realize, like, she can make her shield go, like, if everybody's in a shield wall, everyone can get enveloped by it.
In theory, they should be a tank then.
Yeah, it should be. Except the problem is, in another scene, she can wrap herself, and another character will get there, in enough of a shield that as they go careening down a cliff, they are protected. But in this, if she brings her shield down for a second, everyone's shield
So
wall
that doesn't
comes
make
down.
any sense.
It doesn't make the logic of how her power works doesn't work at all. Anyway,
she slips on a body, slips, the shield comes down, Bodhi dies.
Yeah, Bodhi dies by lightning because they have
some dude that controls lightning, or lady.
A lady that controls lightning.
Who fucks off immediately and never comes back. Like, she was defending...
come back.
No, she was defending the wall, and then all of a sudden as...
they thought she died. Because what happens is she gets... After Bodhi dies, our girl Freya enters like a blood rage, and she goes forward, she takes her shield, and she just kneels down on the ground with her shield, and the lady shoots lightning at the fucking shield maiden, whose powers are reflective, and the lightning just reflects back onto the gate, and it just blows a giant hole right through the wall where that lightning person had been standing.
That should be cool, everyone. However, listen to this shit. I want to say this part because I actually, this part made me, I raged.
Yeah.
I turned it off. I couldn't listen to it because I was so angry.
I think we're going to have the same complaint. Continue.
So, she goes into a bloodlust and she, kicks ass. She, apparently, single-handedly annihilates everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And so but then they all go in, they take over, woohoo. But instead of celebrating after, also, Yanut's there. She's really angry. It's because she blames him for Bodhi dying.
Death.
And anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The point is, though, is that she's, super badass in this moment. And then everybody looks at her like
terrified.
She's a monster. And they all turn on her. Everybody turns on her.
They all become scared of her, and she realizes, I'm going to be uniting people through fear. And, that
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. They're fucking
Vikings.
Norse raiders. They're fucking... Norse
They
raiders.
should have all been let's drink in your honor for becoming a true warrior.
Yeah, and also because all she did, and she doesn't attack women and children.
She literally, it actively says, I did not attack, I only attacked the warriors.
But the reason people are scared, because even if people were turning away and running, she still attacked them. And
because she's a fearsome warrior.
And her eyes turned red, and she was just, and I'm like,
isn't that cool?
I'm like, if you guys were had a code, raiding was rough. You went in, you burned, and
they all knew this. They go on raid.
It's so weird that suddenly she is vilified as a monster, and then she sees a recollection of the night that happened, because Bjorn's like, I think you need to listen to the Skald's version.
Also, why doesn't he like her as a warrior?
And he's like, what? My father is turning you into something that you.
That
don't
doesn't make any sense.
And it doesn't. They're Norse raiders. They should be like, fuck yeah,
Their
Freya.
relationship started on her murdering a man.
Yeah. But now he's like, oh my God, you're turning into someone I barely know because you were in a bloodlust and,
And then she gets really, understandably, but also dumb, depressed and doesn't come out of her room for a week.
Yeah.
And just leaves all her dirty dishes inside. And I'm like, wow, this is really relatable. But yeah, so anyway, and people then badmouth her for being depressed, and they're like, you're just not good enough, and it is a martyr kingdom porn, and it just constant flagellation, and it becomes disgusting.
And she's like, how do I take back some power in this situation and not? And he was like, there's two sides of what's happening you need to figure out. And then she's like, I need to find out about Lena, because Lena is super unknown. There's not a lot of stories about her. She's such a lesser god. She's like, the only people I know who have seen Lena is my mother. So I need to go back and talk to my mother to get more information. And he's like, there's no way my dad's gonna let you go back and do that. So she tries to get the Skald.
But wait, before we even get to that point, she wants to go back to ask about Lean so they could have more stories about Lean and tell other people about how great Lean the goddess is, so they think she's good. I'm like, where is the logic in this?
And also, it just, again, the author needed plot to happen, and we're rolling with it. So anyway, she goes to the Skald lady, and again, you're like, because every time they're like, oh, there's a spy, it's a woman.
No shit, it's the Skald. The only other woman in the story
who knows everything that's happening is the fucking Skald.
Also, there's this one point we jumped over, it doesn't matter. The point is she sends a visual message on a tree, and the visual
Skald.
Yes, and it's like, yeah, that's her power to tell stories through visions. Is that not obvious? It's the Skald.
It's crazy. But anyway, and the entire time she's like, it's the Freya's like, it's the wife of the Jarl. She's the evil
Makes
one.
no sense.
Makes zero sense. She goes to talk to Skald, and then the wife of the Jarl is talking to her and is like, so your plan, and the wife of the Jarl is like, actually, I'm really unhappy with the direction my husband is taking this. I think your image does need some rehab, and he needs to stop using you as a weapon. I would love if you were looked at as a protector. Go talk to your mother.
Okay, wait, guys. Even worse. The author literally has Freya say in her head, all this time I've been thinking of this woman, the Jarl's wife, as an enemy.
But we have the same goals.
We have the... And then that poofs and that never comes up again.
Because she literally, the Jarl's wife says, I was in supporting of this, but I care for the people. My husband does not realize the cost of the lives. He just sees the glory. He doesn't see the cost of the lives of the people whose backs the glory is built upon. And I care about that, and I need this to go in a different direction. So go talk to your mother. Let's see if we can rehab
And I thought this was going to be a comeback story from there.
I thought they were going to bond, and they were going to have a whole thing. But anyway, so the Jarl's wife is like, Freya's going to go on a religious journey. She's going to take some mushroom juice, and she's going to be gone for 2 days. So don't look for her. And the Jarl's like, if you hear from the gods, let me know about it. And
go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, her and Bjorn fuck off to go see her mom.
Okay, so do you mind if I tell the mom part?
You go.
Because so when I was younger, I searched out media, whether it was like stories, books, or like, cop cam stuff, where there's an abusive parent, and then they cometh their justiceth. Like it's a really satisfying thing. And as one young person who was thrown injustices, I find it very satisfying. However, that being said, it does become really horrible when people saturate those scenes in things and when it becomes over the top. I mean, obviously real life's real life, but like when you read books, I've read so much.
There has to be a sense of verisimilitude.
Yes.
The believability of it. Whether it.
And the thing is even if it is a thing that could happen, did you frame it in a way that made it dramatic in a way that it felt real and not
or melodramatic?
Shallow? Yes, that's the difference. Dramatic versus melodrama.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this ain't it.
So, anyway, so Freya and Bjorn go to her mother's homestead, and it's like obsessed with how nice the house looks, how all the thing, like beautiful, like great crops, animals out the wazoo. Obviously, her mother's doing great.
Yeah, and the man that Freya thought was there to keep her mother's life on the line has been doing housework
for her. And her mom, at first, for 5 seconds, I thought was going to be okay. Because she comes out and she bosses around the guy like an old hag. She's like, did you go and feed the horse? I mean, something like that, And I'm like, okay. And then she kind of greets Freya roughly. And I'm thinking, okay, let's see is she just a tough love kind of lady? And then we keep going and she takes Freya to the side. And at first when they begin their conversation, and Bjorn's like, I'm not going out of earshot because she could be attacked at any moment. And also he wants to listen. And so and I also get the vibe, even though this might not be true, that he feels like her mother's going to be a piece of shit to her and that he wants to be the backbone. Mm-hmm. Like there's this weird feeling of that, which fair enough. So he chops wood. And so they're standing nearby and her mother starts. And at first it vaguely seems like she's a tough love character. And then it's like dramatic. It's so dumb. The author's doing it for shock value because all of a sudden her mother starts saying some wild ass shit that's like, yeah, you need to take it for the family. Like you really should suffer for us.
But also that this comes after her mother breaks down crying because her mother tells her the story. And this is the story of the night because she's like, tell me about the night of my conception when Lean came. And she was actually, Lean was not the one in our bed. And Freya's like, the fuck? And Freya isn't immediately like, oh man, there's a second. She's so dumb. Anyway, so her mom's like, listen, your brother was actually super, super sickly. I made lots of requests to a bunch of gods to get help. And
one showed up at our doorstep.
Yes, while the night we thought he was going to die. And the lady was like, I can save you if you give me a price. I can save him. And they were like, yes, absolutely. We'll pay the price. And they wake up the next morning, and because she was like, have sex. I'll lay here while you have sex, and then I'll save your son, but there's going to be a price. And so they wake up the next morning, and their son's gone, just gone. And they're like, oh my God. Oh, was it Loki?
Tricked.
Was it Loki?
That was good.
Did we fucking get tricked by Loki?
Can I just say I really wish it was Loki?
Yeah, that would be great.
That's actually, so if we ever talk about the rewrite, she's actually Loki's kid.
Yeah. I would like that so much more. And then for her to come into like her trickster nature would be great. But anyway, And there's a knock on the door, and it's a different god, a kind one who's dressed as a warrior, who's like, and who's got a basket with a baby in it. And they were like, it was such a plump, healthy baby. We barely recognized it as your brother.
And that's Lean.
And Lean basically says, you made a deal that you didn't understand. I can give you your son back, but you have to allow me to give some of my blood to your baby. And basically they say, the avarice that could turn all of your daughter's words to curses, if given a drop of altruism, could save her.
But
and
I don't
make
get
her,
that.
her. So basically,
why is hell bad? Hell's not a bad. I mean, she's not good, but she.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is that they basically make hell like heckin' evil.
But that doesn't make any sense. She's. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
And the idea is that her life, if she is given some altruistic magic of protection, she could live a more altruistic life, which will counterbalance the avarice inside her that would make her an evil character.
But the thing that's weird is that she has not shown that at all.
Yeah, there's never been moments where you're like, wow, there's a kernel of avarice inside her. After this, we're going to find the voice in her head. But prior to this, there's like none.
No build up whatsoever. So anyway, like so she finds that out and she's like, wow, I wasn't even wanted. I was conceived. It's because it was a deal from her brother.
Her mom's apologized. She's like, I didn't realize in the moment what I was doing, but I was choosing him over you, and I'm so sorry.
So doesn't that sound like a good mother?
And she's crying, and she's like, I'm so sorry that I made that choice and that I put you, I cursed you with this life.
And then the next thing you know, she's saying, you whore.
Yeah, like, because she was like, I know you're unhappy. And she was like, Mom, I'm fine. And she's like, if you were fine, why the fuck are you fucking your husband's son?
Yeah, out of nowhere!
You whore. You're risking your entire family for your selfish wants.
For you wanting to fuck a beautiful man. It's like, where does that come from?
She was like, you need to think of the rest of your family. And Freya's like, there's a voice in her head being like, fuck this bitch.
And she does say, and she's like, fuck this bitch, I'm out. And Bjorn's really proud of her. And then 5 seconds later, she sees an enemy, it doesn't matter, the enemy's coming towards her mom's house. And she's like, I must save my mother. And he's like, he literally says out loud, you just cut your ties with her. She's like, but that's not who I am.
And she's also like, and my mom said that the goddess Lean told her that if I choose altruism, so I must go save her.
And then she goes back and her mom sells them immediately, which makes sense. And she's just like, yeah, no, they went this way, this. And then the
evil lady.
Meanwhile, Freya in her head's like, that's a smart, clever move, Mom. And I'm like, how is that a clever move? And then Bjorn out loud is saying, that fucking witch. Yeah. She's just giving us up. And then, so you're like, what? And then the evil lady starts walking away and she's like, you know what? Only a bitch of a mom would sell their child like that. And then kills her. And then Freya's like, no. And it's like, what?
And then Freya gets so mad, she's like, this is Ylva's fault. Which makes sense, because she thinks that she sold the information that they're there. It's the Nordlanders who came, and they were like, we knew she was visiting, we were told she was going to come visit your house. And Freya's like, the only person who knew I was coming to visit my mom was Ylva.
She spoke to the Skald.
Saying, and because she asked the Skald, will you go visit my mother for me to ask her about this, and then you can show me the vision and I can see what happened.
By the way, out of nowhere, the Skald just suddenly becomes a bitch, and she's like, no, I don't want any more stories. I think you're being shown exactly as who you are, a horrible monster. And it's like, where did this come from?
She was so nice before. Anyway, so the Skald knows she was interested in going to see her mom. Ylva knows she was going to see her mom, but she's like, Ylva, despite helping me, proving multiple times, because Bodhi verified that she was telling the truth, except now she's like, Bodhi was lying. And she just decides, and she goes on a revenge quest, and she gets there, and Bodhi's Bjorn's like, please don't do this, this isn't gonna go well. She goes headlong in.
She punches her.
Yeah, Ylva.
And then they have this whole, it's dumb.
And Snorri's like, yeah, this is kind of compelling evidence, Ylva. And she was like, what are you talking about? I've been loyal to you forever. I just care about the people. And then, as this is all happening,
they get attacked.
They get attacked by the Nordlanders. And they're like, oh, you're going to have to. And she's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not fighting this war for you. Bjorn, let's go. We're going to fuck off. And then.
But then they're all going to die. So then she uses the shield and fight. And then she's like, no, if I remove myself from the equation, then nobody will fight over me. So she jumps over a waterfall.
Yeah, she goes to jump off a cliff. And then Bjorn takes her and they pretend to like, they go over a waterfall. She uses her magic to protect them for the rocks, so she basically bubbles them, and they don't die. And then he's like, everybody thinks we're dead.
Let's fuck right now.
We don't have to worry about anything. We can go live whatever life we want to live, Freya. We're good.
And then they have wild, passionate sex like 3 times or 2 times.
And she's like, you know what? I do want to live a quiet life. I don't want to be a shield maiden and battle or have glory or any of that. I just want to have it. And she was like, but are you okay with that? And he was like, I'll be
But she's so
happy.
No. She is so doubtful or self-doubtful, poor confidence and trust she like, just constantly doubts him. So it's annoying.
Yeah, because she's like, but you've been a warrior your whole life.
So aren't you gonna like not like me and then you're gonna leave? Are you
gonna be happy? Or aren't you gonna be bitter that you gave up for the quest of revenge for who killed your mother? And the entire time you're like, Snorri obviously is the one who killed her. His mom. Yes. Like, and there's this one point where she asks him which of the 2 men killed your mom.
And he said neither.
And he said neither.
She knows this.
But then she's like, it's the king of Nordlander. Like, it's Nordland. I know it is.
Wait, we didn't explain that well. There were 2 people that Snorri blamed, or there are 2 people that may or may not have been involved in his wife's death, but it was actually Snorri the whole way.
Anyway, so he's like, no, I'll be happy. You know, we'll have girls and they'll be as headstrong as you and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that sounds amazing.
And when they have sex, her magic shield light just like drips down her body like silver, like liquid silver.
She uses it to light it up because they're in a cave in the dark, and she can she puts shields around them so that they're like basically like.
And it's like they're having fucking beautiful sex in a galaxy.
But anyway, the next morning she wakes up and he's like, okay, let's go. And then she's like, where are we going? And he's like, well, you'll see. And all of a sudden she's like, why are you so okay with abandoning your people?
Yeah, she starts doubting his...
Nordlander or Skalander? What are you? And he's like, why do we have to talk about this right now? And like, it comes out of nowhere.
She's not patriotic!
Like, at all. Like, and she... At multiple points, it's like, what is this whole thing for? But all of a sudden, she's patriotic, and she's like, I need to know, what are you hiding? You told me yourself, you're not telling me all the truth. And he's like, I will tell you, but just, can we not do this right now? And then they walk out, and the king of Nordland is standing there like, Bjorn, that was really dangerous. You shouldn't have taken it. And she's like, oh my God, you're a traitor.
Yeah,
you're the one who did all this stuff. And you're like, no, there was a woman. Why have you not put this together, you fucking idiot?
But also, Bjorn, like, it's very obvious that, like, Bjorn went to Scotland kind of vaguely unwillingly for a political plan, and it's very like obvious in the discourse between him and his stepfather / he calls him father, so obviously they have a good relationship or something, or semi good relationship, and it's bleeding evidence that he didn't want any of this to happen.
Yes,
that he's just like,
and that he was like, you told me as long as I took her out that like we could go, and he was like, yeah, but for me, and he was like, that's not what we agree, and
but she's like, traitor!
She's like, you fucking, like, and she's just so angry.
She's Violet.
After the whole, like, you betrayed me, like, oh, why didn't you tell me that you were working for the
axe? He's the
axe in the cupboard.
Yes.
God forbid. Anyway, so then, like, they capture her, they take her out onto a dracher. There's this point where she, like, gets into the water, and she's like, how could you do this to your family? He killed your mother. And he was like, no, Snorri tried to kill my mother, my mom's alive. Actually,
and then
this whole time, and that we lived in Nordland
to escape him because he tried to kill us.
And my mom is actually the one that spoke to him because I went and spoke to my mom. She's the one that told me the prophecy, and he's the one that tried to convince whatever the king of Nordland's name is to not kill you, because his original plan was just to kill you to keep, because we don't want Skaland attacking us. That's the goal. But then my mom was the one who convinced, because the other thing that he tells her earlier.
Messy. It's so messy.
The other thing that he tells her earlier is that his mother had another vision about Freya, which was not just that she would unite Skaland, but that she would do so with a pile of bodies behind her, and it would be bloody and through fear. And so originally the king of Nordland is like, well, we just don't let that bitch live. And so, but then Bjorn gets to know her and realizes, okay, no, I think she cannot be this person. And he asks her mom.
Because she's not that person.
Yes.
At all.
At any point. And so he asks his mom to convince the king
to take her in.
And to just not to kill her, that she can live. And so in Bjorn's mind, he was like, okay, as long as I just take her away from Skaland, it should be fine. But then the king's like, nah, I want her. Like if she's going to be a kingmaker and she's not going to be a violent, bloody bitch, then I want her for my benefit.
And then, of course, we get this part, which is when Freya says, I curse you! And technically...
Oh, yeah, this happens before they get
It does happen once before, but it's fine, doesn't matter. And these dark tendrils come up from the earth and take the souls of half the soldiers, even though she said that towards Bjorn. So, I don't understand...
Or the king, like... But because they've got blood, like god blood in them, they're able to escape it. But roots come up from the ground and drag them and kill them.
And what a dumb power.
And they're cursed to
Helheim?
Yeah, at Helheim. And so basically they're like, oh, she's the daughter of hell.
It's like, what a dumb fucking power.
And it's also just like you couldn't have picked any.
Also, I knew that she was going to be Hell's daughter as soon as she burned her hand because of, half of Hell's face is supposed to be burnt or whatever, skeletal.
Yeah. But anyway, so basically at the end, he's like, will you please just come and talk to my mother and just hear her out and hear us out? And then you can make up your mind. And she's like, okay. And that's where the book ends. Like, that's it.
So this book is exhaustingly messy. Really a waste of your time, I'm sorry to say. If you want to explore it and see her writing.
Now, a lot of people like it.
What?
It has great reviews. Like, it's and people are like,
it's too messy to be good.
Shared warmth, smut, instant smut, but slow romance.
It's neither one of those things.
And
it's a quick romance,
not instant smut, but instant sexual development.
Yes, that's true, but it's not good.
No, I'm telling you, go read the Goodreads. Like, people like this book.
If anybody is listening to this, I'm not being mean. I just genuinely feel that this is... Look, if you don't really...
You deserve better.
Look, if you don't like... If you're not really looking for a good book and you just want to read stuff and this has the themes and stuff, go for it. You'll probably find what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a good book, this is not a good book.
Listen, they give them 5 stars. Like, the majority of the reviews are 5-star. Kate, look, I'll show you right now.
Fourth Wing is better than this.
No,
I'm so, not the writing level, but the story at least.
Oh no, I think they're equally as bad. And I think this is not as bad as Fourth Wing for more of the book. Fourth Wing is.
Oh well, no, Fourth Wing's worse in writing.
No, but I just mean in plot, character development.
I mean, you're right.
This last
God,
third
you're right though.
Fourth
Wing is really awful.
Yes, it is. Listen, it was enjoyable. This book is more boring.
ACOTAR was better.
Yes, this book is more boring for most of it than Fourth Wing was.
I think that's what I'm thinking of.
But it's not better. Here, I'll show it to you.
Guys, okay.
No, I get you, but I'm telling you right now, the overall...
I just think...
you deserve
Okay, no. This is what I'm saying. I saw Fourth Wing on poster boards. I saw Fourth Wing all over Instagram. I saw Fourth Wing being advertised out the wazoo. So it makes sense to me why it would have so many positive reviews, because a wider audience. Plus, it's like...
Okay, so mainly 4th stars.
Okay, but it's doing that. What I don't understand is I've never heard of this book once. And it's not like I'm on the pulse of things, but I heard of Fourth Wing everywhere. I heard of ACOTAR everywhere. I have not heard of this book once, and yet it has that much. It doesn't make sense to me.
It has 42,000 ratings.
I mean, good, but how much does Fourth Wing have?
A ton. But anyway, so this has 41% is 4 stars, 35% 5 stars, 17% 3 stars, 4% 2 stars, 1% less than 1% is one star.
We need to get on. No, don't do that to her. She deserves to have success. So I'm glad she's found success. Danielle,
the thing is,
congratulations. I'm glad you have it.
She is writing in a way that the people who are going to romantasy are looking for.
Yeah, I know.
So there's a lot of like
that last third's pretty hard to swallow.
I know, but it also has all the smut, and there's a lot of readers.
That's true.
And I'm not saying this derogatorily. We all have our smut stages. Okay,
I'm still in it from time to time.
And sometimes you just want a good smutty romance. And the last third of this is also where all the smut happens. And so I think sometimes...
So that holds it up.
And so I think when you're coming to it for a romantic story with some fantasy elements, you're much more forgiving of the political inconsistencies, the weird...
It's the last third, though. The last third assassinates every character.
It's
like I said, it feels like the author actually got hateful towards her character.
Towards the end, it's real weird, and you don't. I don't doing the loving, especially given how shitty Sonori becomes. Like again, he's kind of got depth in the first third, and then in the last third, he's just so. I'm like, why would you want to work for that guy? He also, I would look at him. Looking at Ylva and calling her a potential traitor and being like, we need to look into this, and being like, especially once you find out that she wasn't it, being like, oh wow. I was coming at this, but he was so quick to trust me because of the prophecy over the woman he has loved and married for. Like, at no point does she, like... And again, she's not displayed as a patriotic character, and so for her at the end to become so weirdly patriotic is just bizarre, especially, like, what should have been the thesis of this book is the rating, and that each fiefdom or, like, jarldom benefiting through the pain and rating of others is a problem. We're and
she should discover that through being a shield maiden,
and also or being like, nah, this is the only way. We don't have enough crops, we don't have enough things, that like this is the way of the world, and like the book doesn't you
make a decision.
You have to go either way. And the thing is, like, that was how culture, like, that was a part of that culture, and I'm not vilifying it at all. Like, a lot of cultures had ratings, but like her as a character needed to take a stance one way or another, and so for her stance to just be blind patriotism out of nowhere and not be like, and not for her to question Snorri at all at the end when she's like...
That doesn't make any sense, because there's nothing to respect him for. She doesn't respect him.
And for Bjorn to be like, listen, Snorri was the one who tried to kill... Like, I also don't understand why he didn't tell her the minute they woke up in the cave. Like,
it's not like she has loyalty to them.
And just say, like, I want you to know Snorri did this thing, and actually the Nordlanders, like, saved me. Like, if he would have told her that before they slept together, and there's no reason not to.
Yeah, that was actually...
Especially because he knew that they were going to end up finding, like, seeing them. It's just dumb. The last third is such a mess. And it doesn't start terribly. It really doesn't. And so I understand why some people are just like kind of maybe swept away by like the atmosphere of it a bit. Again, I don't think it has a lot of atmosphere. But
you know where you can find a lot of atmosphere, Maria?
Where? Our Patreon.
Please, Maria, give the spiel.
No, you give the spiel. All right. Everybody knows I can do the spiel.
So we have a Patreon, right? You don't have to join it. You can enjoy our YouTube videos. Please do. If you did watch this, please leave a like.
Comment.
And a comment.
For the algorithm gods.
Were there lemons in Norway?
Yeah, or what's a mythology book that you actually do like and you think is handled better than this?
Did women ever use lemon juice
as a contraceptive?
Yes. So anyway, you could do that. Or you want to level up a little bit, you can join our Patreon, where you'll have exclusive access to different features. And it is very community-based. It is very conducive to writers in particular, but also very much to readers. So we have, I don't really know them.
Okay, we have 3 tiers. Tier 1 is our Discord. It's for our just general patrons. We release videos early on our Patreon with no ads. So if you hate ads and you just want to watch the video, that's for you. But
mainly, can you say this all in like a, hey there, sir?
No.
Can you please?
No. The problem is my accents come organically. If I try to do it, it doesn't work.
What if I were to give you this?
No. What?
Here you go.
How is this going to help anything?
Like, maybe it'll help, you know.
Oh, God, this is so red. This is violent. It's like a blood-soaked world. Anyway, and our Discord is full of cool, sexy people that are really cool. There's writers. We have the majority of our audience is writers. Like, it's popping. And
there's a lot of threads. Is that the right
threads. Channels.
We're moms, obviously, on that level with this. But there's a lot of other discussions, so it is very comprehensive.
If you want to talk about books, you want to talk about movies, you want to talk about media. Yeah, so Discord's really cool. Our second level is our book club, where 2 times a month we do book club live streams. One is where the book club members get to vote on books that they nominate books, we pick a couple, and then everybody votes. And so one of every video we do a month is literally picked by our patrons. The other book club live stream, Will picks a book, we all read it together.
So no matter what, whether it's your fault or our fault, we all suffer together.
Yes, and we read together. And we talk about it, and it's a really good time.
We also do read good books.
Yes, we do. We do read good books. Katie and Will just read one that was actually pretty good.
Slewfoot Brom.
Yep. And we also just did another video about Dune the movie, which is not like it's not a classic, it's a roast, but it is a really fun discussion. So there's good books. That was also one of our book club books. Anyway, and then our last tier is our parasocial darlings, where you get Katie's critique stream, where Katie and Will's critique stream, where
yes, where Will and I will, which is the other guy that's on this channel, is the main
if
dude.
this is your first video that you're coming to us, then you don't know who he is, but he exists. He's editing right now. Will, say hi.
Papa and I take a look at technical, like small snippets of things and like more detailed stuff and like how the prose and blah blah blah, and then also like and grammar stuff, and then also every Tuesday, although that might change, I also do like a little radio show thing where for an hour we'll look at anybody. You don't have to be part of the Patreon. It's like literally anyone.
You do have to be part of the Patreon.
Do you?
You don't have to be part of the parasocial darling tier, so you don't have to be part of the 3rd level tier.
But no, you don't have to be part of the Patreon to submit your writing, but you do have to be part of the Patreon to watch the videos.
No. You have to be a parasocial darling to watch the videos.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
So as long as you're in the Patreon, you can submit your writing to be the one. It's basically like if you were ever in a creative writing class in college. It's basically
we do a cold read or we spitball. We don't have to actually read your writing. You don't actually have to have your voice or your face on camera, although that makes it significantly harder.
If you do.
Yes. And so we just, do whatever you want to do with your writing for an hour.
And the parasocial darlings, our 3rd tier, gets to watch those videos, but like I said, as long as you're part of the Patreon, you can submit. And it's good times. People have had super fantastic feedback on that. So we have a lot of benefits if you join the Patreon. Like, this isn't just
if you were looking
maybe
for
you get some updates and also we're in the Discord. Like, sometimes
the point is, though, if you're looking for like a pretty, like if you're like, God, and then you go on Facebook groups and you're like,
I just want a community.
And you're like, I really want to join a fucking book club. Where's this book club? And you go to a book club. Then there's like, a couple middle-aged women, maybe 1 or 2 young people, really no men. And maybe that one old dude in his 50s who
or
really,
it's just
really...
a bunch of like mid-30s, mid-40s women reading like
Nora Roberts. Or back to the old man, like the last book he thought was real good was The Things They Left Behind by Tim O'Brien, like that guy. And you go there and you're like, God, this just isn't for me, especially if there's that one person who just talks and talks over everyone and it's not well. Anyway, if you're like, wow, that didn't work out, try this.
It's a good time. Comment, like, subscribe if you're not subscribe. I don't know why you wouldn't be subscribed. I mean, I think
it's free.
Cool. It is. The problem is some people think we're like
shitty.
Yeah, reactionary.
Yeah, that's the nature of it.
Yeah.
That's literally what this is. It's like talking about a food critic and saying, wow, you're being really critical of this restaurant.
Well, so the problem is I think people are like, what happens sometimes is our videos that do well are the roasts.
Oh, well, of course,
which this people will undoubtedly bid.
Clout.
But not just that, unfortunately, because those do well, those are the ones that YouTube recommends to people. So if you're not subscribed to our channel, you're not going to see the videos we post of books we like.
And also better discussions, in my opinion.
Yeah, and some of the non-popular ones, you're just going to see the roast. And so you're going to assume that we only hate books. And
we're just book haters. That's the truth. We just want to bring down the literacy level.
We have a channel, or not a channel, we have a playlist called Yes, We Actually Like Books, or Yes, We Like Books, and there's 29 in there.
That's a pretty solid amount.
Yes, our roasts is only 27 at the moment.
Would you look at that?
So there's more there, but unfortunately, those never do well. Our sci-fi, even when we like the sci-fi,
People like to hate.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even the ones that don't like hate, they want to see us like stuff. Unless you're subscribed, you're not going to see those videos. So if you want to see the more nuanced and different sides of us, and again, we're different people, and we disagree all the time.
Also, we have a titties channel.
Oh my
thing.
God! Don't advertise. No, William, cut that. We're not saying that. Cut that. Anyway,
that's it. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.